I've stopped budgeting to save money and started budgeting to protect what I truly value, and it has changed everything. If you clicked on this video, you might be asking, what is a minimalist budget? And to that I say, great question. In today's video, we're going to talk about what a minimalist budget is, how to identify your core values and align your budget to those values, how to audit and reduce non-value spending, how to spend guilt-free on things that do matter, and what this budgeting style has changed for me in my own life and how I think it will probably help you too. How I view money and budgeting and personal finance has changed drastically even throughout the past year. And I think a lot of that has to do with the money challenges that I've put myself on for 2025. If you're not familiar with those, then you're probably new here. So welcome. My name is Leah, and I am very close to completing my first no-buy year and am very close to my savings goal of $25,000 in 2025, which is about 50% of my annual income. I talk a lot about that on this channel, and also just generally my transition from a total shopaholic to a much more financially responsible and intentional living type of person. So if any of that interests you, I'd love to have you along, but let's get into the good stuff. So the whole concept of budgeting for your values versus budgeting just to budget or just to save money. You want to focus on tailoring your budget so that it actually creates a fulfilling life and not something based in deprivation. I think one of the main reasons so many people struggle with keeping a budget is because you think that you're gonna go from spending $5,000 a month to spending $2,000 a month with the snap of the fingers. And that's just not gonna happen. All you're doing is setting yourself up for disappointment and failure. So the whole purpose is focusing not on deprivation or extreme frugality, but rather really being intentional with how you're spending and creating enough spending money in the categories that matter to you and cutting mercilessly in the areas that really don't matter to you. Step one of this is obviously finding your core values. What are the things that truly matter to you in your spending? And there are a couple ways that you can do this. I do think journaling is one of the most impactful ways to do it. Whether it's something in your notes app or something that you are physically journaling, I do think it's really helpful to make notes of how you're feeling when you spend your money. Kind of like trying to understand the lifestyle that you want to have. I thought shopping was my hobby. I thought that I just really enjoyed shopping. The reality was I was using it as a coping mechanism, and it was not something that I was doing truly because I loved doing it. It was really just something to fill my time so I didn't have to think about the other things that I should have just been dealing with. That being said, now recognizing that shopping really wasn't a passion for me, it wasn't a hobby. I actually am way more passionate about spending time with my loved ones and getting to do my real hobbies. All of these things that I actually truly love doing, I was not prioritizing that at all, and I was spending the bulk of my money on obtaining material items that actually weren't adding value to my life at all. And I realized this year, after not buying any clothes for almost 11 months now, I don't care. I don't really miss it. I got to spend that money on travel. I got to spend that money on my hobbies. I got to spend that money on spending quality time with people that I love, and those are my values. So really just paying attention. I was keeping notes on everything. I was journaling, and it really became extremely clear to me this year what my values are. Step two, now that you know what your values are, you're going to align your budget to those values. I would really recommend to just keep the categories simple. I would just separate it out into 3 sections. The first one being needs, the things that are completely non-negotiable. You have to pay rent, you have to pay utilities. Those aren't gonna change, they are what they are. The second category I would put into your value-based spending. So that is going to be your things that you are prioritizing and that make sense for your life. And then number 3 is going to be your trash spending. So that's going to be the spending that you are intending to cut out. So those are the things that you're spending money on that you don't need to be spending money on, but you are, and they're really not adding value to your life. Keep it simple, create a visual based budget, and you can even separate these out, like create, 3 different pages in a journal or something like that, and start adding your categories and budget based on each of those categories. Step 3 is to audit and reduce your trash spending or your non-value spending. So now that you know the categories and the types of things that you are spending on that are in that category, you want to work on eliminating those expenses so that you free up more money for the things that do matter to you. That's the thing that I really want to emphasize here. I didn't stop spending, I stopped mindlessly spending. And that is what I wish for you all. I don't want anyone to live a life where you're completely neglecting yourself and not allowing yourself to use money as the tool that it is to create the life that you want to have. Like, that is the whole point. Budgets don't have to be restrictive. We have to just create parameters for ourselves so that we can be successful and use our money properly. Classic examples for these trash spending categories and things like that are going to be like subscriptions, impulse trips, like why are you in Target 3 times a week? You don't need to be. Trend shopping, things like that. Those were like my personal ones. Those were things that I found myself getting caught up in, or what I also called like comparison shopping, where if I saw something that somebody else had, I would be like, oh, like I have to go get that right away. And even if I did it subconsciously, like I never was someone that I felt like really wanted to be trendy or was like really keeping up on trends necessarily, but I definitely did fall victim to it more than I thought I did. Step 4 is going to be really focusing on guilt-free spending. I wanted to include this in here because I think for me personally, I did struggle a lot with guilt, especially because I would always have financial goals, but I would end up giving into the impulse and I would fail the goals that I set for myself. And that had me on this kind of continual loop of guilt. And also impulse purchases were horrible because I would end up buying something that I didn't really want because I wanted it in that moment, in that 30 seconds that I did not even stop to think. And I would buy it in that moment, but then almost immediately regret it. And I had so many of those purchases. So there was just so much guilt surrounding my spending. And I have really come a long way with that this year. And again, I really attest that to the fact that I have these very purposeful spending parameters for myself. And I don't feel the guilt when I spend on things. Like, I've been even able to go on vacation 2 or 3 times this year. And each of those times I spent that money no problem, because I knew that that was a value category for me. I knew that I had intentionally put money aside in order to go on those trips, even with all of my crazy saving goals, even with my no buy year. I built my no buy year around the fact that that was a priority for me. And like, I was able to do that with no problem. Having that permission to spend on the things that matter make a huge difference mentally. And you're gonna find yourself living with way less guilt and way less regret when you are being so much more intentional. This final section is just talking about how this was so impactful for me and what I think it's gonna change for you. I've peppered this information in throughout the video, but just to summarize it all, I have way lower stress levels when it comes to money. My savings rate is through the roof. I have such greater clarity around my finances and around what matters to me. I also have to make fewer decisions. Honestly, this has helped so much with decision fatigue, because if I see a sale on clothes, or I see a sale or something like that on one of my items that are my no buy categories or are things that are my non-value categories, I just get to walk right by. I don't pay attention to it at all. I could care less. I don't fall victim to it. If I hear an influencer talking about clothes, where to get the latest, blah, 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 Don't care. None of my business. That has helped so much in terms of deciding on things and deciding what to buy or deciding and looking into new products all the time. And I don't miss that at all. And finally, just more peace. I feel so true to myself in all of the things that I'm bringing into my life. I have less clutter. I have less mental fatigue. I mean, there are just so many benefits to it. Again, coming from someone who was like I truly had a shopping problem less than a year ago. And I have done a complete 180 transition, totally different person a year later, and I am so much better for it. To sum up absolutely everything in this video, if you want to try a budget that will actually work, start by asking yourself, what do I actually want out of life? And then budget from there. If you've made it this far into the video, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, leave me a comment below and let me know what your biggest takeaway was. And I will include some videos on the screen for you here that might interest you as well. I look forward to seeing you in my next video.